already on stage, so I will keep my comments brief. I will say that we've gotten to know Mr. Studi over the last couple of years, and there's a whole section on his career in the Oklahoma at the Movies exhibit, which is right across the foyer. If you have not seen that, be sure to get in there and see objects and items from his career, from Dances with Wolves to Avatar. And of course, he's in A Million Ways to Die in the West right now. I believe that's still in theaters, which was also filmed in New Mexico, which is a good segue to our next guest, Stephen Michael Quezada, and who many of you will know from the hit TV series Breaking Bad. And so we will adopt him as an Oklahoman officially today, so that we can have an exhibit on Breaking Bad. Anybody in favor of that? So, thank you, gentlemen, for coming today.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you for coming. Wes Studi. Basically, what we're going to do is we're just going to, talk a little bit, and I know everybody's here interested about your career. First off, I would like to, how did you get started? Why acting, right?
Oh, I'm going to do comedy in a minute. Oh, now we're in for it. Give this man a mic and not forget it.
So why acting? How did that get? Yeah, it's better with polarized.
Why acting?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to do anything else.
So that was your choice to say get a job?
Yeah, it was that or nothing.
That or nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I like to do nothing sometimes. So you're from Oklahoma?
I'm from the northeastern part of Oklahoma, yes. Somewhere between Stillwell and Tahlequah. Anybody know those towns? Yay!
Now for a second there, I think everybody looked lost. Because we know that, getting in this business, you don't, many people, I guess, dream of it. Some people kind of fall into it.
No, I didn't fall into it. I would like to be able to fall into it. I know people who have fallen into it. No, I like to say that, yeah, I did my homework. I did my stage work. I did my study. I did what it took, and I gave up what needed to be given up. And there's a lot of sacrifice involved in choosing acting as a career, and you well know it's not an easy road, but it can get easy at times, and those are the times that we live for as performers. And what can I say? There's really nothing I'd rather do with the rest of my life.
And you do that at a young age, or when did it become interesting to you? Did you look at television and say, "Wow, man, that's something that I maybe would want to do"? When was that moment that you made that choice?
The moment came later than I actually started. Okay, I started working a lot of. There was a company in Tulsa called the American Indian Theater Company that I became involved with, and we did mainly stage plays. And the largest one we ever did was an equity show called Black Elk Speaks, which we mounted in, I believe, '84. It was at that point that I actually got paid for acting. Before that, it was all workshops and then performing on stages smaller than this, for like old folks' homes, and for anybody in elementary schools, or depending on the play, just whatever in the world, wherever in the world we could get a stage, yeah, we would do it, And after having done this equity film, play, that resulted in a couple of auditions for educational television, and then a docudrama for PBS, and I also at the same time was working at Gaslight Dinner Theaters. Anybody ever worked at Gaslight Dinner Theater? Ta-da! Well, I got top pay. It was like $12 a show, all you can eat, and maybe 2 glasses of wine on the way through.
It sounded like my beginning of my comedy career. So, you know, and I love hearing that, you know, that you know, and you hear this story a lot from most actors, that there's a point where they get started, and always it's for the love of being a performer. I don't think many people get into this business thinking they're going to be rich and famous, because, you know, the odds are, I mean, you know, the odds are slim. I mean, you're better off buying a lottery ticket. And so I love talking with actors about their beginning and how they got started and why they chose it. And usually, I'm about to say 99% of the people that I've interviewed started out doing the exact same thing me and you did, which was give me a stage, give me a role, give me a costume, and yeah, if it's at the old folks home, that's good, you know. And I remember looking back at those gigs going, hey, I got a gig tonight at the old folks home, you know. And it was just about because I wanted to be a performer, because I just wanted to be an artist.
And the other thing is rehearsal. You have a structure to your life wherein you have rehearsal every night for several weeks, and then finally you actually do the show, and then what happens?
Yeah, no.
You fall into
Depression. Yeah.
I mean, you like to see your very last show come about, right? I mean, the real curtain comes down on your very last show, but what happens then is all of these people you've been working with for like 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks or something like that, and you've bonded, you've made friendships, and you've done wonderful things and had great fun on stage, and then also you got to perform. Then it's all over. It's all over. You hit the streets, you begin to look for other things to do. Oh, you're moving around.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think that's why I was kind of.
And I always come to Stephen. I say, Stephen, I need work. I don't know why.
Yeah, and it's just because we want to perform. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I gravitated towards a company. You know, I started with a company called La Compañía in Albuquerque, and I would build the sets, and I would make whatever I needed to do to be a part of that company. You know.
Well, you also had that after party too. That
I had a late night talk show, in Albuquerque for the last 2.5, 3 years. And because I was just trying to create something in New Mexico, I'm always looking for, I'm like you, I'm always looking for what am I going to do next? And so you're right though about the family, you know, I mean, in theater, it was always like a 3-month family, and then it was gone, and then you kind of went into, you know, what's next, or, you know, and being in a company helped me because we start planning the next production, you know, so right away we go into designing the sets, and so I always kept busy doing that. And I did it until '87, where I realized that I wanted a car so bad that started. I know, I'm being selfish here. But I wanted so bad to have a car that started is why I went and turned into stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And so I went into comedy for 25 years, probably didn't really look back at acting for a while. I want to know, from theater to you deciding to make that transition, what did you do? How did that happen?
I really did make a transition. Acting is acting. I enjoy getting on the stage as much as getting in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's to me, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So not really a transition. It's just that I can make more money making television or film, and that's a big consideration when you have agents and managers and business people to deal with as far as your career is concerned. You know. So, well, there's nothing wrong with it. I love to do television, film, but it's very different in one way is that, you know, I miss that part of stage wherein you create kind of a stage family of sorts, and you know that the wonderful feeling of cohesiveness that you become a working cog in something larger, you know, and people depend on you, and you depend on other people to do right. You know, it's just like playing a band or something. You know, it's that you everything's got to work right. What I miss in film and television is that you don't always, unless you're part of an ensemble cast or something, you don't really have that as much as you have, and in television being much more business inclined than say independent film or even you know, large films. But you do kind of lose that to a certain extent, and I'm more that.
For me, I think the working part of stage and you know and being a theater. Yeah, go ahead. Do whatever you want. You need a podium? No. There you go. You look better.
Is the light still good on me?
Yeah, you look great. As a matter of fact, you moved into the light.
Okay.
And that's that theater training that you got. But you know, I have to agree with you. The theater. You know, I think what's different for me from film and television, from theater, is definitely the heat. Is that, you know, when you're working with a director in theater, you know, there's that notes. There's the work process. There's you know, you go to rehearsal and they write your notes down, or they'll sit down and say, well, I like this, or you should do that, or what you think about this, or what about that, and this and that. But when you go to film or television, you know, especially, you know, as a guest star, like you said, if you're not part of the crew, you roll in, you know, you make all your own choices, you hope you made all the right choices, you do what you can with the part that they gave you, and you come in and you roll in and you do it, and you shoot the first take, you know, and you do it, and the director looks at you and he goes,
Oh man, that was great! I loved it.
Yeah,
Let's do it one more time.
yeah, or that was really good. Can you do it faster? Right? Or throw it away. I love that one. Throw it away. I remember when the first time they gave me that note. Throw it away. Throw it away. What do you mean throw it away? I've never heard of that before. You know, in theater or anything. What do you mean by that? So the work is different. The way you work it is different. And when they got it, you know, in theater, it's live, you know, you've worked hard to get to that point, so when you're really performing it, it's live, and you get that instant gratification at the end. They clap for you, and you're like, yay, I did something. And in film and television, when they end that scene, they're like, okay, moving on, you know, and you're standing there going, well, do I get any applause? I mean, did I do it right? Are you going to tell me that I did it right? And they don't tell you nothing because they're busy. They got to move on. So if you work in this business, when they tell you, moving on, that's your applause, and that you did a good job, and pat yourself on the back and move forward. So it's just different.
You were great, Michael. You were great. I love that. Love what you brought to the party. Good. Good. Well, great working with you.
That's right. And don't take any of the costume pieces, please. Low budget film, we can't afford them. So there's a difference, I think, in the way it makes you feel. And that's what I love about stand-up comedy, is that it's still a live performance art.
It's live.
It is.
And you get immediate.
It's immediate.
The audience thinks you're either great or you suck.
Exactly.
Immediate.
And I'd rather be there. I'd rather be at that point. I'm more comfortable in front of a live audience, for me, than I am in front of a camera.
No, me, I'm scared to death.
You don't look scared, bro.
That's my facade.
He's acting. I should have known that he was acting. And you're doing wonderful. It's beautiful work. So what was your first film?
My first film outside of a docudrama called it was a story about Trial of Standing Bear. Trial of Standing Bear was the first docudrama I ever worked on. That was an in-state in Nebraska kind of a thing. But my first Hollywood film would have been Powwow Highway.
Powwow Highway?
Powwow Highway.
What year was that? Am I testing you?
Don't be rude.
we need to look it up because I think we all want to
We,
see it.
Oklahomans,
We
are
wanna
very
find it.
polite.
I was just adopted, so.
You gotta learn your ropes.
Yeah, I just got adopted. I'm gonna change some shit around here.
Oh, yeah, you give it a shot. You go right on ahead, man.
I don't think I can change anything.
No, it was Powwow Highway and, with Gary Farmer. Powwow Highway?
Yeah.
All right. It's back in the day, but, interestingly enough, it was directed by, the guy who did Repo Man, who, remember, he wound up chairing the, film department over at the College of Santa Fe.
Yeah.
For a good
That's
while,
correct.
before it became a university.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, it was inside.
It's a New Mexico thing. He's adopted too. We adopted him in New Mexico,
Yeah, Powwow Highway, and Gary Farmer and A. Martinez and a number of
people who started working after that.
yeah.
I think that's the nature of this business, right? The more opportunity, and it doesn't have to be a big, huge film. It doesn't have to be a major motion picture. Any film. I think if you're an actor out there, I think the best advice I could possibly give you is do everything. Work on anything that you can as an actor, because it just seems to, the more you're working, the more opportunities you get for some reason. And then it fluctuates. I mean, this is a business that's up and down. It's like the stock market. Sometimes you're selling and things are going good, and then sometimes it'll get slow. And that's when but you have to look for every opportunity to keep working. And is that what you did? I mean, did you just decide after this film I'm going to go to Los Angeles?
I had, during the filming of Travis Standing Bear, I had picked up I was bumped off of a Braniff Airlines flight between here and Nebraska at one time. So what they gave me was a free trip anywhere.
Yeah.
Do you remember Braniff? Do you remember Braniff?
My car didn't even start at that
Before
time.
your time. Okay, it was before your time. But in any case, they gave me a ticket to fly anywhere I wanted to go, right? So I took that and I stuck it in my suitcase and forgot about it for about a year. And then finally, I got tired of $12 a show. Wasn't paying the bills. So I thought, well, geez, maybe I should just go out to LA and give it a shot. I had a good friend out there who had directed me in some plays over in Tulsa. His name was Bob Hicks from Okmulgee. And I called Bob up and said, Bob, what do you think about me coming out there and giving it a shot? He said, come on, go on, I'll put you up for a little while. I have a couch. So I went out there, gave it a shot, and luckily there was, at that point in time, a wonderful organization there called the American Indian Registry for the Performing Arts, and it had been started by the late Will Sampson and Jay Silverheels. And they had put this registry together, and what they did was, their main focus was helping Indians who came out to LA to find agents, and put them in touch with agents and get them out on the road there to working toward a career. So I went there, they helped me find an agent, and fairly soon thereafter I got a commercial selling diamond walnuts, and it's history from there.
Well, yeah, it's funny that you meet a lot of actors who start off on some commercial. I think Aaron Paul started on a Cheerio commercial.
I still have my commercial.
You still have it?
Oh God, yes, of course, yeah.
So, it's been a great career for you. I think we look back at the work that you've done, and I'm going to tell you, man, one of my all-time favorite films is Last of the Mohicans. I think it was a brilliantly done film, and you were so badass in that film. That I remember the first time I met you, I went, "Oh my God, man, there's Mugwai." And I was walking towards you, I'm thinking, this dude's gonna pull out a hatchet, smack me in the head with it. And I was like afraid. And then when I got close to you, I realized, I'm a Latino, I'll just stab the fool. And then I got over my fear.
Well, actually, you know, it's interesting how people show their fears. And, the first time I saw Stephen Michael, it was at a casino. It was a big, long hallways, right? And I saw him come walking toward me this way with someone else who was going to introduce us, I guess. And he got about 100 yards away, something like that, and I saw his movement, the movement of your body kind of stiffened a little bit. And I don't know, he began to walk like this. Uh-oh, I looked at him and said, oh, geez, I know he's got a knife in his And he's smiling and he's beginning to talk, hi there, how you doing? Hey, so I avoided him as much as I could.
He ran for me, but I finally got him on my show. I think a lot of us would probably like to hear a little bit about the experience of Last of the Mohican and how that was, because it was so beautifully done. I mean, and you got to work with some really great actors, or these actors really got to work with you. I'll put it that way, because I don't want you to be mad at me later. So you know, can you recall some of that stuff?
Oh, it's so many years ago. I don't know. No, actually, it was probably the most physically demanding film I've ever worked on, and it was about a 6-month process, shooting throughout the summer in Western North Carolina. Western North Carolina is very much like Oklahoma in terms of humidity and heat, but it was a matter of starting out working in the gyms of LA and running, getting in shape, getting ready for this is going to be an extremely physical shoot. So yeah, we had to build our stamina up quite a bit, and we did that in LA, and then went to a sort of a survivalist training in Alabama, where we worked with people who were going to be a part of the film as well as a lot of learning how to use long rifles and learning how to use bows and you name it of that period. Mm-hmm. And then after probably 6 weeks of that, then we started shooting principal photography, and it was almost on the run, and we rode no horses, right? There's only one horse in the film.
Yeah, there was a lot of climbing that mountain and chasing people. Yeah, it looked like it would be. It was physical.
I also broke my leg on that.
You did?
I break my leg. I knocked my kneecap off. I guess during the fight, during the fight.
Yeah.
There's actually a tiny little. When you watch that sort of about 3/4 shot up, there's a shot of me where you can see I had kind of a cast on that showed right up at the top of my waist. And you can see it for just half a second, but I turned this, and I had to go to have orthoscopic surgery done on it. But luckily, it was Winston-Salem's, like the place for sports injury.
Oh, okay.
So went down there and they just whacked off a piece of my underneath the kneecap cartilage. And back on set in no time.
Wrapped it and said, get back to work.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we grew up, right? You hurt yourself, that's where we go.
Kind of like a razor.
Yeah, there you go. Here, put some dirt on it. Now go.
Yeah. Kind of like a racehorse. You just shoot them up a little bit. Stick them in there.
Yeah. So that 6 months is a long time on a film. So, I mean, it takes 6 months to shoot a whole entire series on television.
Time flies. Time flies when we're having fun, right?
It
He's
is.
looking at us. now.
Speaking of that, hey guys.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So we're going to take just a 2-second break. We're going to have you stand up. We're going to switch the chairs around, and we have 3 more actors joining us for the discussion. So just 1 second.
Hi. I get to work as a casting director and an actor, which is how I met Steve, and I was lucky enough to be arrested by him on Breaking Bad. And what's that?
Hey.
Yeah. There is a GIF of him going around the internet saying "Hey," which is amazing. But very honored to be up here, and thanks to Dead Center and Lance for asking me to be here. I have had the fortune of casting all 3 of these wonderful actors in Life in the Darkroom. And I've cast actors around Wes. He was already cast in a project, and I filled out the rest of it a couple of years ago, but I've never had the opportunity. What our process from Life in the Darkroom, we never watched audition tapes from them because they were, we just made offers. Their body of work was their audition for the film. And I'd like to, I know sometimes all of you are made offers and sometimes you have to audition. How often are you still auditioning for things? And can we talk about that process as opposed to actually being on set? Anybody?
I'll answer that. First of all, thank you guys for being here. Honestly, it means a lot to us. The auditioning process, I think that because, especially I live in LA, so there's a lot of having to tape auditions to send out, especially because a lot of the projects they're being shooting like in New Orleans or New Mexico or places like that. I think that it depends a lot too in the character, because sometimes you have a line of work that shows either kind of the same type of characters, but sometimes when it really goes out of, like, let's say if you do a lot of comedy, sometimes they want to see what's your range into drama, so they'll ask you to put yourself on tape, or vice versa. So it depends. I think that today's day they're more, they expect to see more, auditioning tapes, especially because you have to send out of town.
Yeah, for me, I'm still auditioning. I think that's just something that we're always going to have to do. And really, for me, I think that's the job, right? I think we're not really actors. Actors is the gravy that we win when we do a great audition. Because what we are is we're professional auditioners, and then after that, we get to be an actor after that. Because it's always auditioning, always doing different things. And you're right, we're always trying to break out of being, I read for cops forever, everybody wanted me to be a cop after that, until Chris called me, and then he let me play a bad guy, and then guess what, now I'm getting bad guy offers, and I like that better. Because, I played a cop, and I grew up in the hood, and I couldn't go to no more parties in the hood. Passing you the mic. Do you still have to audition a lot, or do you?
Audition? What's
What
that?
is that?
Now, I have to say, there was a wonderful time in my career where I didn't have to audition. But that's over now. No, but you're right. It's all, it's like self-taped auditions these days. It's great to have an iPhone. You just do yourself,
yeah, that's
right?
great.
Just
Yeah.
do yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah. Don't do it in front of the iPhone. Just say.
Or send it out.
You'll accidentally touch that.
Yeah, but that's what audition is, pretty more or less has come to. Then, excuse me. But I guess there are callbacks, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they still do callbacks.
Oh,
Yeah.
Over
Over and
you
over
hope.
and over.
I'm waiting for my callback.
Yeah, right. I love auditioning. I mean, like Steven says, it's our work. I mean, actors act, right? And if we're not doing movies or plays, we are auditioning or going to workshops. And so I had a big period of my life of auditioning, and then this was offered, another movie that I did right after in Massachusetts was offered, and then something for the actor studio was offered, and I said, wow, my life's changed, so I don't have to audition anymore. Everything is going to be offered now. Not. So I'm back to auditioning, and I love it. And I just came from Paris, and it was amazing to see that Van Gogh never stopped going to acting classes, painting classes. He never stopped training with masters, and that's what we do. And when we're not doing that, we're auditioning. That's what we do. We're professional auditioners, not Wes. For a while he says he wasn't. Anyway.
I'm just not professional anymore.
You're just an auditioner.
A good segue is there's an acting studio in Norman called the Actor Factory. So check it out, theactorfactory.com. Don't get too used to the website. It's about to have a major change. Stephen, let me ask this. Lamari was talking about auditioning is what we do. You know, we come across a lot of actors that hate the audition, they're terrified of the audition, and they say, if I can just get on set, I'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And I used to be like that, but now it's the other way around for me. I love the audition. That's fun, and that's acting. Mm-hmm. Once I get on set, that's when the pressure is. That's when you're getting paid, and it's scary. Yeah. Do you feel the same way? Is it?
I mean, what's the point of fighting something you have to do? I mean, how about embrace it, cherishing it, and loving it? And the reality is that we love playing. So you get an audition, it's a new character, it's a new story, and it's a new dream, and you sit and you do the work, and it doesn't matter that you're getting paid $100,000 or you're paying the gas to go to the audition. You're still preparing to do this great character and have fun and play.
It would matter to me if I'm getting paid $100,000. But you feel the same? Do you?
I feel the same way you do. I mean, I think that at the beginning it was more like I think that we all get nervous. I mean, I've heard from people that are like A actors. I mean, that they're like they still get nervous. They hate auditioning. It's just it's nervous. You're pretty much, it depends on those 5 minutes of showing the director, the producer, whether I can do the job or not. Something that I've been preparing for so long. So, and I mean, it's so funny how the auditioning process, I mean, this is going to sound crazy. Now I want to sound crazy. I have these rituals, like, no, there's no smoke or anything like that, but like there has to be, like if I go to Fox Studios, I have to literally park my car at a certain place. It has to be that one level. Then I have to go to the bathroom at a certain place. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, I know.
My lucky toilet, man. She's gifted.
She said rituals. She said rituals all hit.
We want to know in Alaska. We'll buy that. And what toilet is that?
No. I have to show you, man.
She says, sir, what do you do in the women's bathroom? Shut up.
No, and it has to be like a certain way of doing things, you know, depending on, it's just, and we get so superstitious sometimes, you know, like, oh, you know, I don't want to talk about this, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. But I think that we all go through that nervous point. But yes, little by little, after you audition so much, then now it's like, oh, I'm on set. Oh my God, now I had to really prove, you know, how much I really wanted it and how perfect I am for this role. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just never easy. That auditioning process is just.
I think the key to not letting the auditioning process destroy you is that you got to realize that who you are right now is good enough. You're good enough right now, who you are, to be on a movie. If you fit a part, if you look the character, I mean, you are that person and you can play that person. You are good enough. Don't go to auditions and beat yourself up, right? You go to your audition and you do your job, and you audition and you give it your best. And if you're a little nervous, guess what? You're a little nervous, you know, get over it. And when you leave the audition, don't get mad. And when you leave the audition, you let it go. You leave it behind you because you don't know why they're going to choose you, why they're not going to choose you. You're too tall, you're too small.
Because it has nothing to do with your work.
It has nothing to do with your work. But we as actors, we beat ourselves You know, we beat ourselves into being afraid of auditioning because we haven't been successful in the last 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 or whatever it is, you know, and you can't. There you go. And I'll break that toilet and I'll bring you a chunk.
No, you don't leave my toilet alone.
We'll just take the lid. We'll take the lid.
And Stephen, I want to ask you something. There's something I want to ask you in just a minute. But Stephen has taught at my acting studio last year. He did a great workshop, and he's going to do another one Monday. It's sold out. But you told a story last year that I continue to tell as your story. The final callback process on Breaking Bad, and what actors get in their head after their audition. You know the story I'm talking about?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It was down to you and 2 other guys.
Yeah. Okay.
And what they were.
Yeah, this is
what they were probably thinking and what the reality was, why they didn't get the role.
Yeah, exactly. It was, it was tough. It was a long process, really, to get that role. Everybody kind of wanted it because they knew it was going to be a bigger role than what initially was written in the pilot. And it came down to me and 2 other really good Latino actors in Los Angeles. And why I got the role is because I was 5'7".
Look at that.
Aside from being a great actor, I mean, you have to put that aside.
I was 5'7", and Dean Norris was 5'7", so I didn't make Dean Norris look like he was 5'7", and Dean Norris made me look like I was 6 foot, so it kind of worked out. Because everybody thinks that we're bigger because we're both the same size, but he looks like this big guy. And I think one of the actors was Benito Martinez from S.H.I.E.L.D., who's like 6'1". I mean, and he's a brilliant, great actor. You know, or he would have taken Gomez probably different places than I did. But I was very fortunate to be 5'7". It worked out for me, right? But my skill level got me to the top 3. And so I knew that my skill level got me to the top 3, but you never know what, because I've been at auditions where I know I'm in the top 2, 3, and I don't get an offer. And you don't know why, and it has nothing to do with my skill set. It has to do with sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. And that's why you go to every single audition and you go for every single role. And I read now for different things that are not just Latino anymore. They've kind of pulled me out of that box and says, hey, we want you to read for, Dr. Johnson. And I said, oh, okay, I'll try it. But I've stopped doing that to myself and saying, you know what, I can be Dr. Johnson. There's no reason why I can't. And so I just go and do the best audition that I possibly can. And then I leave it up to the producers. So let's be realistic about, what casting people do. Casting people get you to those top 3. And the producer and the director pick from there. Right? And that's what you need to go through everything they imagine in their head that character looking like, and you have to pass all those. Unless you really blow them out of the water with a performance. So that's why so that happens too. So that's why you have to do what Lamar says and always, always be training.
Okay, that was Acting 101, according to Stephen Michael Quesada. Now, Stephen, would you tell me, are you really capable of taking that practice that you just described and putting it into action, into your own reality? It's like, it's not like you do an audition and then you drive home from there mouthing the words over and over and over again. Huh? You ever do that?
Yep.
I should have said, take me to the bus in the back. Or should I have said, take me to the bus in the back? I know. I should have been comedic and said, take me to the bus in the back. Or over and over and over again. Did you ever do that?
Even if you get the part.
Yeah.
Even if you get the part, you still run the lines over and over in your head. See what you casting people do to us?
Throw traumatized.
I really do. At this point, I try to forget it and move on unless I do get a call back. And then you're right, I do. I go, okay, did I say that right? But sometimes, if I get a call back, I'll tell myself, well, maybe I shouldn't change it.
Yeah.
Because that's why I got the call back, I think.
We
Oh
have
my
a
God.
phrase here in Oklahoma called "dance with the one who brung you," and that's what I like to say. Just do what you did in the audition, because that's what got you there.
No,
Yeah.
not always.
Really?
In my last experience, I did it one way in the callback in the first audition, and I said, well, I'm gonna just do that in the callback. And I wish they would have said they wanted. I think actually, I think the director wanted to see if I could take directions because it was completely different.
Cool.
Yeah, which it happens. I mean, sometimes they even like give you right there on the spot a different role. Oh, here, now do this.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Cool.
That happens a lot.
For this. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and it's you're like, okay, now what? And it's totally, completely different. I mean, and like you were saying, I mean, sometimes I remember being called in for, they wanted a Caucasian, totally different character that I'm like, dude. I call my agent. I'm like, no, there's nothing Caucasian about me. I mean, I open my mouth and I sound like I just crossed the border, so that's not gonna happen. And I said, no, I'm not going, and I remember fighting with him on the phone, and I'm like, dude, are you like doing drugs? What's wrong with you? So I finally ended up going. It was a producer session. I didn't even know. So they wanted this sexy, like big lips and this and that. So of course, then on top of everything, I was like, I can't believe he actually thought that I could actually play this kind of role. So I walked in, and of course, all the girls were there with their little top and the shorts. I came in with jeans, like literally all the way here, covered up. So the casting goes and says, "Oh, hi, Patricia," and she looked me up and down. As in like, okay, you're not right for this. As I walked in, there is Mike Royce, the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond, and the director. And I'm like, and then she goes, and this is so-and-so, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? And here I am, extremely upset. So I go in, I did my reading, and I'm like, okay, see ya. As I'm thinking, okay, I'm about to get a ticket, honestly, for this audition, and this was a waste of gas and makeup, so I'm leaving. So he goes, hold on a second. I need you to do that again. So I'm like, okay, are you gonna give me directions? No, just do it again. Okay, did my thing again, I left. 15 calls from my agent as I'm literally walking out the door. I'm like, oh, they probably called to say that I'm a BITCH. So, and they're never gonna call me again. So then my agent leaves a message saying, well, I guess you don't want the role. They call because they want to book you. And I'm like, oh no, they're really doing drugs now. So it just tells you sometimes, and honestly at the end, I talked to Ray Romano, which I was supposed to come in and do the love interest for him, and he said, I am not so much into Caucasians. And when I saw your page, my wife is brunette, and all my girlfriends were brunette, so go figure, you know what I'm saying? I mean, obviously, my work was able to speak for itself, but at the end, ultimately, they went for who he thought that he liked it, because the director wanted me, and the producer didn't want me, or something like that, so they had to bring him in and say, who would you actually like to work with?
And it's the way it should be. I'm tired of reading Caucasian, Asian, Black. What? I mean, seriously, I also just played a Caucasian in the Massachusetts film I just did. It was written blonde, bombshell Caucasian. And my manager said, but seriously, she's just the wife of the lead. Why does she have to be Caucasian, blonde, blue-eyed, bombshell? And he got me at the audition, and I got the part. So I think it should be human, a person.
Yeah, which is what goes back to what you said. That is like you cannot say at the beginning, no, you can't close your door yourself without even trying to cross the door. So because you never know. I mean, you really never know.
The only time I make changes in an audition, right, is if I can hear the guys in the other room auditioning, And they're all like screaming and yelling, made all the same choices I did. I'm thinking, man, they've heard 50 people say that,
I
so
know.
I'll sit there and I'll change it up.
It's
and I'll
so hard, your
approach
job.
it different.
It's
Because
so
all I
hard.
want is
How
a
do you
callback.
do it?
I'm just
Seriously.
trying to get a callback.
How do
I
you
want
do
to
it?
stand out. You know, in the room.
Let's
So
interview.
that's when I do make, I
Yeah.
will make choice changes there before I walk into the room.
Now, the show that you're probably talking about is Men of a Certain Age.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Men of a Certain Age, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant show, and it's much too short-lived. You check it out. It was a fantastic,
Thank
wasn't
you.
it? Wasn't
Yeah,
it a
yeah,
great
yeah,
show?
yeah, yeah, it was a great
I want
show.
to ask Lamari, let's talk about American Gangster for crying out loud. Was that your first big role, big film?
Absolutely.
Was there, you get the role, you're excited, and then you're walking on set, and you had experience as an actor, but then you're walking on set for this huge thing, and it's Denzel, and can we talk about what you were going through there?
The funny thing is that Denzel and I were just as nervous because we arrived on set. It's our wedding day. There's 300 extras, tons of producers walking around, security, and all of the Harlem audience in the streets because it's on location, a church in Harlem. And Denzel is just as nervous because we arrive and Ridley says, we decided to do the vows of the wedding. And we were both freaking out. So we had to go through vows. It was just walking, kissing, dancing, walking. And so it was kind of cool that I was just as nervous as Denzel Washington.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's talk about the film that, yes?
Well, I want to make sure there's time for questions from the audience.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's do that. Questions?
Must be nice to be the boss.
What do you think of the director?
Can you tell us a little bit about the different challenges depending on the medium you're acting in? So television versus, television, Telemundo, independent film, big budget film, all of them obviously have different challenges. I think you can share some of those.
To me, it's all about the story. I love storytelling. That's what got me from chemistry into storytelling. And at the end, it comes down to physics. I go back to being a scientist. If the camera is right in front of you, you let your thoughts speak. If you are on stage and you are doing Shakespeare, then depending on the play, then you use your body and your voice more because you need to be heard and you need to be seen and you need to be understood. I think it's also a lot about trusting the director, loving the story and trusting the director, and the director will guide you in any medium. And you can hear stories of the greatest actors of when they go from theater to stage or stage and theater to movies or movies to stage and how the director guides them. And I think that's great. I love directors and I love them guiding me into telling the story in the best way possible. I've done both of them. I've done more theater than film. It's more accessible. It's a lot easier to go just do stage and for free even. And I adore both mediums and I think the director is the key.
Going to what you say in regards to, let's say, a low budget to a big budget. Obviously, being on a big budget movie is going to give you, everything that you need. I mean, it's going to be easier. You're going to have absolutely, 100 people. You know what I'm saying? Instead of or 200 people instead of having a crew that is smaller. But it's like she says, it has to do with the director because, I remember working for a studio and the director was not necessarily the nicest guy. You can see everybody was the whole crew was in such a bad mood because the director wasn't able to control his temper and the way he was treating his crew, and then you could see everything going down. It was so uncomfortable. I didn't even want to go back to it. And then I've been into sets where it's a low budget film where everybody's just extremely pleasant and everybody's trying to, especially the work, yeah, exactly, working with Lance, I know because you're here, but and you actually hired But yes, it was such such a pleasant experience, and then you compare, you know, yeah, you have working for, you know what I'm saying, a big studio, and you have absolutely everything, and there's all the money in the world, but then if you compare, then sometimes it's like, you know what, I'd rather definitely work with people that wants to be here, and everybody's chipping in, and sometimes you're working with almost anything, but ultimately it's about the story as well. Because sometimes you get this, like, as we were talking outside, like, you get this scripts that you're like, who is going to put this at what studio? It's like the worst scripts, and then all of a sudden you get this like low budget independent film that you're like, this is what I want to do. And that's when you go and say, listen, you know what? No matter how much the budget is, this is something that I think that I want to do as an actor. Because ultimately, I think that we're here because we're passionate about it. So, what do you think?
For me, well, besides the obviousness from stage to film, but I think from film to television for me is, I think that, you know, when you're working on a TV series, the pace is different and it's faster and it's a lot of high pressure, and it's, you know, I mean, in film, you know, it seems like the director and everybody's kind of, you know, they're not like lax, but they give you a little bit more.
In this film, you're just.
But you know, I mean, for me, I've been working on Breaking Bad for 5 years, and so the pace on Breaking Bad is boom, boom, boom. Let's go. You know, oh wait, I want to make another choice.
Serious.
No other choices. We like what you did. We're moving on, and you know, you're like.
And when it comes to sitcom, it's even faster.
Yeah, and sitcom is probably even faster. So for me, I think it's about pace and being able to, you know, kind of take your time in a film.
To me, it's about enunciation. You're on stage, and you must enunciate, and you must
Is it talking about
take you must take your voice all the way back to the back wall. And then you get on television, and you want to do a little bit faster, the same thing, but you don't have to worry about taking it back to the theater. But you still have to be, for television, you have to be understood. Then you move to big budget films, you have to be understood, but because a lot of it is image that you're doing the acting for is for the larger picture, and image will sell whatever the idea is. That's okay, you can kind of be you don't have to have the best elocution and all of that, but then you get to independent films, and that's when you can mumble about it. That's my take on it.
It makes a lot of sense because, you know, you're right, you know, projection and enunciation, and then enunciation at a, you know, and this is the symbol I use from theater to television and film is smaller and more intimate, because you're more intimate with a camera than a back row of a theater. But enunciation is tough. Yeah, he's right.
Do we have time for any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
You were all kind of talking about the director is key, but what if you just don't kind of agree with the way a certain scene is supposed to go for your part? How can you tactfully change it, or do you let the director have the say?
You're fired.
Except in TV.
Yeah.
Except in TV.
Yeah, you can argue in TV.
In TV, the director is, you know, he's a traffic director. Traffic control is what he really does, you know.
Yeah, usually you could be on the phone with the writer or the executive producer. If you have a conflict with a scene, I'll tell you one from Breaking Bad. When me and Dean we had Lavelle Crawford. What's his character name? I can't remember. We have him in the thing, and we're trying to make him give us information. And so Dean hands him his cell phone with the battery and says, "Hey, man, you know, they could track you with this. Don't put this in." And the writer's like, "We didn't write with the battery. We don't want the battery. We want you to give him the phone without the battery." And I go, "Then why give him the phone?" If we're trying to build trust with this other character, we would give him the phone and the battery. We took the battery out so it couldn't be traced, but we're going to give them back to you. And you can make that decision whether you trust us or not to put the battery back in the phone or not. And the writer goes, I didn't write it that way. Don't give him back the battery. And so we had a big discussion, and guess who makes that decision? Vince Gilligan.
The writer.
Yeah. Or the writer, not the director. It's like, hey, we need a light over here.
Yeah, that's my experience on television is the writer. The writer makes a decision, and you have the conversations with the writer, with all the respect to the director. In film, you expect it to be a very collaborative medium, and in my experience has been great. I've been able to talk to Ridley Scott, I've been able to talk to Lance McDaniels, and if he has a very specific way he wants to do the scene, we do it, and then I said, what do you think about this? And if there's time, hopefully they'll let you do what you want to do. And he has both, and the editor and Lance will decide at the end. Excuse me, Lance will decide at the end, the director. In theater, on the other hand, I've been directed by the writer, and it gets more complicated because it's the way he envisioned it when he wrote it, and that's the way it's going to be. So you do this. Go for it.
And especially if they're a producer as well, you know. But, you know, one of the best ways to kind of hopefully get yourself another job is to be kind to a television episodic director, because, you know, they come in different one every episode, you know. And so if you're kind and you act like you're really listening to that director in his notes, well, he's going to appreciate that. And who knows, maybe he'll direct a film sometime, you know. And then is when you need to be cognizant and work with the director. On a film, a director is much closer to being king than certainly not on television.
So
And on stage, they're big too.
All right.
Yes.
Have you, okay, everybody has a dream character. Do you have a dream character you haven't met yet?
Nope.
I'd love to do something extremely funny, super funny, crazy funny on film. I've done it on stage. I've done it in my house every day. Certain people here know me, so they probably know that. But I want to do it on film. My advice at the beginning of my career was to focus on the drama, because back then in 2000 it was very hard to go from drama to comedy. It was easier to go. It was easier to go from drama into comedy than from comedy into a dramatic actor. So I just focused on my dramatic, techniques and parts and plays and movies, and I dab into it in plays and scene class. But I haven't yet done on film this very mean, basically funny character, and I'm looking for that. My I don't know, Annie Hall or I don't know, this crazy girl, Melissa McCarthy.
We want to do the King and I, Stephen.
I actually, growing up, wanted to be the first Mexican to shoot Clint Eastwood in a Western. I didn't want to kill him because I like Clint Eastwood. I just wanted to shoot him. Mexicans don't get to do that.
Well, let's have a round of applause for our guys.